Welcome to yet another episode of the Mental Health Check-In Podcast. If you're a new listener, my name's Joe Anthony Myrick. You can call me Jam. And this podcast is all about healing, so hopefully we can all heal together. If you're a returning listener, thank you again for listening. 3 episodes deep, so hopefully we can get even further in that. My guest for this episode is a local rapper out of Detroit named Monalyse, who very incredibly special talent. I really enjoyed my conversation with her, and before I nosedive into that convo, I just want to talk a little bit about what I noticed while we were talking, or rather while I was adding our conversation. A lot of our conversations seem to kind of discuss self-care in a way without ever really explicitly calling it self-care. We were talking about how we can heal from journaling and how she's her own big sister in a lot of ways, how you basically need to be your own biggest supporter, look after yourself. And it got me thinking about self-care a little bit. Specifically, it got me thinking about why some people, myself included, would be reluctant to practice self-care. Because for the longest time, I avoided really looking after myself because I felt like I didn't have the time to do that, or that it would be selfish. That focus on the word self and self-care, for whatever reason, I identified as selfish. I don't have time to look after myself because I need to care after other people, or I just need to just focus on this constant grind for the future to better those around me, better myself in the process, I suppose, but inadvertently better myself so I can better other people. I started thinking about how the pandemic kind of made me force myself to care after myself a little bit. Not necessarily in terms of what's going on in my head, but more so physically. Like I mentioned before, I'm immunocompromised, meaning that if I catch COVID, I'm out like that. And I always knew that I was immunocompromised because of my asthma. But that switch never really, I guess, computed in my head. Like whether it be just staying home or taking precautions like wearing masks, wearing gloves, washing your hands a lot. In my head, I was thinking I need to do all of that to protect other people, not just because I'm going to be in contact with my family still and I don't want to get them sick. I don't want to spread it to strangers. Like I don't want that on my conscience. If I find out I get it, then I go to my local CVS and all of a sudden there was like a big that turns out to be a hotspot or something. I don't want that on my conscience. But in around May or June, someone asked me to do this favor for them in person that I just had to decline. But for whatever reason, in that moment, I computed it as I can't do this favor for you because I need to look after my own health. And verbalizing it in that way kind of made me think, oh, I'm immunocompromised. I need to look after, I not only have to look after other people's health, but it's also important to look after my health as well. And I equate that to self-care because the thing about self-care is that self-care doesn't equal selfish. With self-care, it's important to look after yourself because as much as I want to protect other people, be it family, be it friends, if I don't look after myself and I croak, what happens to those people when I'm gone? Who's going to protect them, basically? And that's a very extreme way to look at it, and my brain just can't help but look at extremes like that or look at situations in extreme circumstances like that. And that's probably something I need to work on. But looking at it in those terms, I started thinking about more like a mental health self-care type of thing. And this took me back to a couple episodes ago when I said that the mind is like a car. You need to constantly check in on it, or else it's just going to fall out, lose gas, pop an engine, something like that. You gotta take it to the shop every now and again. And you gotta do that with your mind, your body, your own health. And I guess I say all that just to say that self-care is important. Focusing on yourself doesn't mean you're not thinking of others or that you're putting others in a back seat for yourself. It's not selfish or egotistical. Self-care is just necessary. Your mind is the car, you are the car. And if you pass out from exhaustion because you're going, and you don't stop to put some gas in yourself, then who's going to drive everybody around? But taking extremes out of it, looking at the self and self-care, it's important to manage yourself because a better relationship with yourself leads to a better relationship with other people. The way you approach yourself reflects how you approach other people. If you have a positive relationship with yourself, it makes it easier to form positive relationships with other people. If you're kind to yourself, it's easier to be kind to other people. If you're managing your stress and your self-care, then you're not lashing out at other people, and it just makes communication easier. And you can practice self-care either by making long-term changes in yourself, be it changes in your routine, changes in your nutrition, doing exercise that ultimately helps your body and mind, doing yoga, doing meditation to just relieve some stress. It can be as simple as just splurging on yourself a little bit. Don't just spend that whole check on bills. Just get something small for yourself, something that's going to make you happy. Do things that make you happy and relieve stress, and ultimately, other relationships in your life are going to be all the better for it. And I hope that makes sense. If it doesn't, then hopefully my guest Monalyse says some things that make sense. So I'm just gonna mosey on down to that conversation right now. Which, by the way, for people watching the video for this, for some reason my image disappeared from the Skype session. It was weird. When I first came on and we were talking in the video chat, like I popped up and then as soon as I started recording, I just disappeared. Maybe I'm just not tech savvy enough to handle Skype and I just maybe I broke it, but yeah, like you'll just see Monalyse in there. But if you're just listening, then you won't even notice. And hopefully, just by listening, you get something valuable from what Monalyse is saying. And now I'm rambling again, like I usually do. So I'm just gonna stop wasting time and transition to the conversation. Welcome back to the Mental Health Check-In podcast. My next guest is a very, very, very talented rapper out of Detroit. Her name is Monalyse. How are you doing, Monalyse?
I'm great. How are you?
Been better. Woke up with my back just outplaced, but I'll be okay.
Oh my God, why is your back out placed?
I have no idea. It's a regular thing by now. I don't know how it started. It just is what it is. I'll be
Okay.
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 But speaking of being okay, I know like during these weird times, especially for people like us, you're worried about having to go outside, run into either COVID-19 or a cop. So, in all the stress that comes with today, I just wanted to know: are you okay, personally, emotionally?
Am I okay personally and
Hmm.
emotionally? I guess I could say yes.
Hmm.
Personally, I feel like it's no complaints, but if
Hmm.
I had to, I could.
Okay. Why you say that?
I mean, I just feel like, that's just how moods are. Like, you know what
Hmm.
I'm saying? You have your good days, you have your bad days, your good weeks and your bad weeks. I feel like
Hmm.
I have, it's just energy. So
Hmm. Yeah, I definitely feel you there. And I feel like I got some of that energy with the single you and Melrose put out last month with America with Triple K's. What mindset were you in when you made that song?
The funny thing about it is she hit me up. She said, "Hey, I have a song. I want you to be on it."
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, "Yeah." So I listened to it and I literally wrote it in less than 30 minutes, both verses.
Okay, that's
And
impressive.
I wrote it because it was just like, that's something that was already on my chest. So when
Mm-hmm.
she asked me to get it out, it was literally like taking something off my chest that was already there. I didn't have to create it, it was already there.
Mm-hmm.
So, it was very easy for me because it's something that I already felt.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Did it help you heal from whatever's on your chest?
Did it help me heal?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I wouldn't say. I guess in a little bit, it made me feel better about
Mm-hmm.
it. It didn't make me feel better at ease about the situation at hand, but it did make me feel better about it. Yeah.
Well, that's good. Is that usually the case with music? Does making art, making music, making poetry, does that help you heal in a way?
For me, I guess a little bit. Yeah. Well, I mean, I feel like my music for me, it doesn't really help me heal. Like, I mean, it helps other people heal. They tell me like from my music, but I don't think that I have really like healing music. I think I have music that is perspective. I think I have music that paints a picture that makes people see what the problem is. I don't have music that is like it'll get better. It is good. Everything is gonna be good. I don't have like soothing music that everything is gonna be okay. I don't have healing music. I just have music that puts the problem on the forefront.
Mm. I think that counts as healing in a way. Like, I think healing isn't necessarily finding solutions, but like you said, put things in perspective, put things out there. And I think that when people hear your music, it's kind of putting their own, they relate to it because they're putting their own experiences to the forefront. It's making them think about their own lives and helps them rationalize their own lives, I think. And I think that's a good thing that you do.
Yeah. So okay, then maybe it is healing a little bit,
Hmm.
you know.
Hmm. How does is there a difference between like making poetry and making rap?
Poetry is easier for me.
Mm.
Poetry is like talking. Like talking right now, I can make poetry.
Mm-hmm.
Like, but rapping is a little bit more intricate because I'm very flow oriented. So I try to make my flow make sense. So my flow takes a little bit more time than what poetry does. Because with poetry is more so like there is not the flow is unlimited. You can say whatever you want, however you want, whatever. But
Mm-hmm.
rap is a little bit more like the flow it's like more mathematical. Like it has to make sense.
Mm. Like in terms of like rhyme scheme and just like putting
Yeah.
things around. Okay. Mm.
Yeah.
That's interesting. And like to go back a little bit to what we were talking about with perspectives and healing through art, I'm kind of curious about where you pull music from. I trying to think of how to formulate this question. Like, so you say that it's not necessarily something that helps you heal or make sense of certain things, but what does making music do for you in a sense?
Music makes me connect.
Hmm.
It makes me feel okay because it makes me know that people understand where I'm coming from.
Hmm.
Like literally whatever I'm going through or whatever picture that I'm painting, like the other person is receiving what I'm saying. It's like talking in a different language. It is music makes me feel like it kind of makes me feel like I'm not crazy a little bit. Like this shit is making sense. Like what I'm saying, like I'm poetically, lyrically putting something together, and people are understanding what I'm saying, and not only understanding it, but they're enjoying it. Like
Hmm.
it feels good. Like they can even like kind of like zone out to my music. Like you don't even have to necessarily listen to the words, but just the simple sound of my voice might make somebody feel at ease.
Hmm.
So that makes me feel good that people really enjoy my music. Like I like to be a help to
Hmm.
people in that way.
Hmm. Is that what motivates you to make music, or does it more so stem from like just from a personal place?
It's a personal place.
And there's something I've always been curious about with musicians. Like a lot of musicians kind of go to a personal place, and I've talked to some musicians who say that I need to heal from something, and then I can turn it into art. And I've got other musicians who say before I have to heal, I need to put pen to paper, write about how I'm feeling, and then I can properly heal. What side of that fence do you think you fall on?
Neither.
Mm.
Because either if I heal or if I don't heal, I'm still gonna make music about it. Like maybe if I make the music about it, I still didn't heal, or maybe I healed and I made the music. Like it's literally like breathing to me.
Hmm.
It's just what it is. Like it's something that comes upon me and I put it out. Like my music is kind of like it sounds crazy, but it's like even though I'm creating it, it's separate from me. It's a force beyond me. So I'm giving myself to this force that it's like, yeah, it's like I'm the face of it and yeah, I'm the name of it. But like this force is like something other than me. Like the Mona Lisa is something, a whole entity that I created. And it's just like when I create it, I give it to I just give it to that entity. It's just like that's what I'm going through and that's what I'm gonna just give you right now. But do I heal from it after I make the music? No. Or maybe I did heal from it and I make the music. It don't matter. It's just like whatever I'm feeling.
And I suppose for aspiring musicians who haven't found that force yet, what kind of advice can you offer for people looking for their force?
I feel like you just have to kind of dig within yourself. You know, I have years of experience. Like, I've been rapping since I was 14. So I've been rapping for 11 years, pretty much. So when I first started rapping, I know it sounds crazy, but I used to I used to sit in a room with a pen and a notepad, and nothing would come out for hours. But I would sit there just thinking, like, I know something is there. I know something is there because I felt it. I literally felt it. Like, nothing would come out. And I would do that all the time. Like, you know what I'm saying? And eventually, like, lyrics would start coming to me. And not saying like everybody has to do that, but you just have to be patient with yourself, and you have to be willing to accept like whatever lyrics come to you and just write them down and be confident within them lyrics, because rapping is 50% confidence, if not more. It's just confidence in the words that you say, because I've heard some very terrible raps that became hits. Anybody can do it, but as far as talent, I feel like you just really have to sit with yourself.
I'm curious, has whatever's going on right now, everything going on right now, has that changed your process in any way, whether it be making music in stereo or just putting pen to paper?
Like the pandemic,
Yeah.
yeah, it made me like not write as much. It kind of took away my ambition. It took away my like even though it should be the opposite. Like, that's the
Mm-hmm.
thing. Like, it should be like, oh, I have all this downtime. I should be writing more. I got
Mm-hmm.
all this downtime. I should be
Mm-hmm.
like creating more because I have nothing but time.
Mm-hmm.
But the pandemic, it did the opposite for me. Like, my head been way more cloudy. Even though I did write a song this morning, but I haven't been writing as much as I normally would. Like, the pandemic has been really depressing for me as far as like creatively.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's understandable because, like we were talking about healing and whatnot. Like sometimes you just need that downtime to heal. This is overwhelming stuff for everybody, and sometimes you just need to sit down, process it, just make peace with whatever we're going through, and then once you've made that peace, the creative juices start flowing again.
Exactly.
And I did see something interesting like a couple weeks ago. Like we're talking about like how the pandemic has changed the way we make music and whatnot. You were a part of a virtual festival recently, and I
I
was just
was.
curious. Yeah, how was that experience like, and how it like differentiate from doing a live show? And like obviously there was big differences, but how was that experience for you?
That was very different for me.
Hmm.
Like, that was I didn't like, it was different for me because I didn't know that could even be a thing.
Hmm.
But it was nice though to see like the outpour of supporters from that virtual experience. Um it was different. It's something that like I could get used to, but I would prefer not to,
Hmm.
cuz I prefer to see actual people in the crowd. You know what I'm saying? Not just the
Yeah.
number of how many viewers. Oh, you have 300 viewers, or
Hmm.
you have 1,000 viewers. Like, I would rather like see physically 1,000 bodies in an audience.
Hmm.
But that's just me.
Hmm. And hopefully we get back to that soon. I miss concerts too, just being in the crowd.
Yeah.
And there was another interview that I came across, where you were talking about free journaling, basically, and you said that you've been journaling your whole life, basically every single day. And in these last few episodes of the podcast, me and my guests have been talking about how free journaling helps and whatnot. I was wondering how has journaling helped you in the last few years?
Journaling.
Hmm. Just like writing in a
Oh,
journal. Hmm.
what? I'm always next to my journal. I'm next to my journal right now. Journal helped me because it lets me look back on my past thoughts. Because you got to think, like, your thoughts are going a mile a minute, and you have no recollection of them except for your own mental capacity.
Hmm.
So when you write them down, you're literally keeping a record of your thoughts. Because if you ask anybody how they thought when they were 13 or how they thought when they were 15 and they're 10 years older, they're not going to have that much of a recollection of the details of how they thought. So I write down my thoughts in every era of my life and every year of my life because I care that much about my thoughts that I don't ever want to forget them. And I don't never want to forget where I come from or never want to forget who I am. So that's why I write down my journal. And I look back on my journal sometimes to just, bring me back down to earth. Like what is my goal? What am I doing? What am I here for? What do I have to do? And that's why I journal.
Are you able to learn from your journaling too?
Yeah, I do.
Hmm.
I do.
Hmm.
Because it's a lot of times I look at my journal like I'm not even me. And I'm like, girl, you tripping. Like,
Hmm.
what? Why are you worried about that? Like, it's so much bigger stuff that you could be worried about. But it's real. Like, I was worried about that. So I can be able to be like a bigger sister to myself.
For anybody thinking about like doing a journal, do you have any advice for people who don't really know where to start or how to unpack their feelings into word form?
Oh, yeah, just start now. Start now. If you want to start a journal, start that day. And I would say, if you don't know how to unpack your feelings, you start with what you do know, like how the basics. You can start with two sentences. I feel like today is shitty. You don't even have to elaborate. I feel like today is shitty. I can't wait till tomorrow. Boom. Next day. Be like, why was today shitty? You got to ask yourself questions like that. You got to work with yourself. But the thing is, like, I'm very talkative, so I'm really good with journal because I can like elaborate. I
Hmm.
can be like, it was bad because da da da. This boy said this, or I went here and the clerk had an attitude, or whatever the case is. So you just have to ask yourself questions and be your own best friend within the pages.
Okay, I like the sound of that. And I was something else I was always wondering that you kind of delved into this in another interview, but I kind of wanted you to elaborate on it a little more. You said that rapping is easy, but being a rapper is hard because like you have to be a personality and like a big scope in the public eye. How you deal with being under that public scrutiny, basically, because with as many followers you have, as soon as you put something out, like everybody has an opinion. So how you deal with that? It sounds stressful.
It's not. It's stressful. Don't get me wrong, because like I be on Twitter and like to be honest, like when I was like 15, I used to have 36,000 followers on Twitter. I was
Hmm.
a troll account. And people didn't even know I was a rapper. I used to just be talking shit on Twitter all day. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
So I deleted that Twitter and I started as the Monalyse because I
Hmm.
started doing music and I didn't want to get traced back to my, outlandish tweets.
Hmm.
And I can't tweet the same. And I'm an outlandish person. Like I I be wanting to say some things.
Hmm.
So it be definitely holding me back. I be having to hold my tongue because I know the people that like my lawyer follows me
Hmm.
and people follow me who like a lot of people follow me who is just like I can't say what I really, really want to say.
Hmm.
So it's just like business though. Like it's just the world. Like it's not too bad. It's not too stressful. It's not too bad. Cause I'm not as big yet, but I'm pretty sure like the bigger I get, the more scrutiny I probably would get.
Hmm.
So it's not bad right now.
Kind of flashing back to like a year ago, you worked with Pusha T, right, for the 1800 project. And I was kind of curious about what you learned from that experience and how has that helped you in your journey thus far?
It let me know that anything is possible. It let me know that people want to hear my music from all different walks of life, not just Detroit. It made my box bigger and it let me know how to deal like kinds of in the like move in like an industry type of environment. Cause like in the industry, like time is money. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? So like
Yeah.
and I'm really laxy daisy when it comes to creating. Like when
Mm-hmm.
I work, like I'm just like I pull up to the studio, ain't no time. Like I just be there, and I
Mm-hmm.
create when I feel like it. Smoke, drink, chill. All right, I got a song. Smoke,
Mm-hmm.
drink, chill. All right, I got another one. You know what I'm saying? When I was out there, it was like this is your time. That's it. Like, so it was just like a little different with that. And it was just a whole nother different experience because I never went to Cali for real at the time. Like, I've been there before, but not like that. So it definitely taught me a lot. It gave me a lot of confidence, and it made me feel a different type of ways. Like, it was a culture shock for sure.
Well, I'm really happy you got to experience that.
Thank you.
And like we're talking about the larger scope of the industry, I kind of want to talk about something that happened like a month ago with the whole, the Meg the Stallion situation.
Oh, okay.
And, and like coming out of what happened to George Floyd, there was a whole lot of talk saying we need to protect black women and their source of strength, this, that, and the third. But as soon as we see a black woman in distress and she gets shot, people were quick with the memes and the jokes. Do you think that the mental health of black women isn't taken seriously?
It's not taken seriously
Mm-hmm.
because people always want black women to be strong and black women to be, survivors and black women to be like this almighty warrior.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like, dang, like at the end of the day, we still women. Like, why you putting that much pressure on us? Like, dang, we can be sensitive. We can't be victim. Like, we can't even be a victim.
Mm-hmm.
I see somebody say, like, dang, like she crying too much. Baby girl got shot twice.
Right.
Why she can't be a victim? Like,
Mm-hmm.
why can't she cry? Like, why she always got to be strong? And I
Mm-hmm.
feel some type of way about that
Mm-hmm.
because it's like that ain't right. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Because these white girls crying and they tears are gold,
Mm-hmm.
and they taking their tears and they like, oh no, we gonna take care of that because they crying. But when a black girl cry, it's crickets. Don't
Mm-hmm.
nobody hear nothing. It's just like you better shake it off. But that's how we was raised. Because I
Mm-hmm.
remember when I was younger, when I would cry, every time I would cry, you know what my mama would say?
What'd she say?
She said, "Stop crying before I give you something to cry about."
Yeah, I hear
That's
that a
what she
lot.
told me.
Mm-hmm.
And what I do, I stopped crying
Mm-hmm.
before she gave me something to cry about.
Right.
So
Mm-hmm.
hey,
And that's something that always disturbed me, especially about the Meg situation. It feels like black women, like you said, are lifted into this big image, this warrior of strength, but they're put on such a pedestal that they're not allowed to be vulnerable, How you feel like us in the black community can work on that, I suppose.
to work on it,
Mm-hmm.
just showing a little empathy.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Showing a little sensitivity.
Mm-hmm.
I think that would help. If somebody's going through some real shit, like show
Mm-hmm.
some sensitivity. And
Mm-hmm.
it's so crazy how such an extreme subject will call for like telling people to have sensitivity. If
Mm-hmm.
somebody gets shot, you have sensitivity. That's
Right.
like duh. Your daughter got shot. How would you act?
Mm-hmm.
So maybe I would say like act like it was your daughter or your son who was getting treated like that.
Mm-hmm.
If your son got shot, how would you act? If your daughter got shot, how would you act? Treat them accordingly.
Mm-hmm.
Don't make jokes. Don't make it, a meme.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's real. It's real shit going on.
Right. And I almost think it's unfortunate that we have to personalize in that way to say, imagine that this black woman is your daughter or your mother or your cousin or your sister. At the end of the day, this is a woman who got shot. It doesn't matter if I was related to them, something horrible happened to this person. I should have sympathy for them. I should have empathy, and I should allow them the space to heal. But like you said, too many people want to throw out the memes, want to throw out the jokes because they just don't have the empathy for whatever reason.
Yeah. They don't have the empathy.
Hmm.
Because we live in a time where social media has desensitized us.
Hmm.
It has desensitized us. We don't feel, we think everything is a joke. Everything that's on social media is never taken seriously for real.
Hmm.
So it's just like really like, and to help that, I don't have the solution. Like, how do you make people on the internet seem more real? I mean, I don't know how you could make them seem more real.
Hmm.
Like, I mean, I don't know. Like, this world is moving in a way that I cannot predict.
Hmm.
But I can say, like, that's what needs to happen.
Yeah, and I'm curious, why do you say, a lot of people have different answers, but why do you think the internet has made people desensitized? Do you think it's just the anonymity of it all, or just behind the
Because the
screen?
internet makes people feel so far away.
Mm,
Like, this person is a celebrity. They're not going to hear what I'm saying. Or this person lives in fucking Alaska and I'm in Georgia.
mm,
They don't care what I'm saying. But really, people don't realize like your words are being translated the same way somebody in their own hometown can
mm,
be translated. It's that easy. Like, it's still getting to them the same way.
mm,
And they don't realize that. And it is confusing to people, especially
mm,
to the youth.
mm-hmm,
So they're just, oblivious to it.
mm-hmm,
So it causes problems.
mm-hmm. Is there a way they think we could use social media to get that kind of connectivity you were talking about earlier to for positivity and whatnot, or is it just a lost cause at this point?
It is the way, but it will have to be very protected,
Mm-hmm,
private. It can't be public.
mm-hmm,
It can't be for the public eye. It'll have to be like a private type of like profile or private um thread or whatever. Like wherever
mm-hmm,
y'all communicating, it'll have to be private so people can really feel it. But publicly, no. Because you opening up yourself to trolls. And like I said, I used to be a troll when I was a teenager. So I know. I
mm-hmm,
used to be talking shit. I was that same person. Like I was on the internet just talking because I didn't know or care. So I get it.
And I think a good place to end this talk would be, I guess, just ask about something positive. What's something positive that's been happening in your life right now?
Positive.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Positive. I feel like I've been even though it's a pandemic, I have been going to different cities and going to different studios, and I feel like the different energy has been giving me confidence as far as like creating, because I feel like if I can go to any city and I can like go to the studio and go crazy, I feel like I can go to any studio in the world and go crazy. So it's definitely been giving me confidence. And I feel like another positive thing is I do have a lot of downtime because I'm not working. So I have a lot of time to like just deal with myself and know how I am with myself without any distractions with besides my own. So I'm really living with myself like I'm a different person and I'm just really knowing who I am.
Well, I'm glad you're going through that and finding that confidence. It sounds really hopeful and peaceful, and I'm happy you're going through it. And I want to thank you for sitting down with me like this. And one more thing before we end this, I have this segment on my podcast where I like to, so to speak, give people their flowers before they go. Like, if we never talk again, I want you to know how you're appreciated. And you're appreciated because I think you're just a tremendous talent. I seriously think you're not just one of the best rappers in Detroit, but one of the best rappers on the scene, period, right now. I've been following your work
Wow.
since you put out Cause I Got an Attitude and then FWA right after that. And I've just been trying to follow your journey ever since then. You put out such good music. The Pusha T thing was such a great look. And I hope nothing but the best for your journey. I hope that so many more doors open for you and that by time like a year, even a few months from now, half the world, more than half the world knows your name and you're just flourishing. So
Yes, put those blessings on me. Put
yes,
those
I'm
blessings on me. Give them to me.
I'm manifesting all that right now. Thank you again.
Thank you so much for having me on your podcast. I really enjoyed talking to you.
And just like that, episode 3 is in the books. Thank you for listening, and thank you again to Monalyse for stopping by. You can check out her stuff at the Monalyse on Instagram and on Twitter. You can also listen to her music on all the streaming platforms: YouTube, SoundCloud, Spotify, all that stuff. And while you're checking out her music, I'd recommend checking out her latest project, the Diligence EP, which is very good stuff. Highly recommend it there. If you want to hear more from me, hear more for this podcast, you can follow us on Twitter at CheckinPod. You can follow us on Instagram at Mental Health Check-In Pod. You can email us at mentalhealthcheckinpod@gmail.com. And you can hear every episode of this podcast on all the streaming platforms: YouTube, iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, SoundCloud. Anywhere you get your podcast from, you can hear us. And until next time, stay safe and stay healthy.